So you want to be a dungeon master?
So, you want to be a dungeon master.
So you want to be a DM?
Name some feats, okay? Feats.
So you want to be a DM?
That's great. We're here to help. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Justin. This week, Jinkies gang. That's
like
right.
that.
This week we're talking about clues. The things we find along the mysterious path, inching ever closer to the answer. But how does Hansel and Gretel know how many breadcrumbs to leave in the path? What if they run out and never find their way home again? Scary stuff, gang. So grab your magnifying glass, light up that pipe, dust off your trusty notebook, and get ready to talk about clues. But first, Taylor, I think a place that's rife with clues. It's kind of a genre built around the entire premise of leaving clues and finding clues. And that's kind of a whodunit or a murder mystery kind of situation. Not that it has to be murder specifically, but like a whodunit. Could be a bank robbery, whatever. Is there a piece of media, whether it's a movie, a book, something like that, that kind of comes to mind as like something that inspires you a little bit, where you're like, oh, that would be sick to try loosely in a TTRPG sense or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many. I love whodunit books. As far as I'll say whodunit books in the broadest sense. I'm not like the guy who tracks down like whatever the newest whodunit author, whatever.
Yeah.
I love Agatha Christie books. I love Sherlock Holmes books. Both of them very fun stories with very interesting twists. Especially like the Hercule Poirot series by Agatha Christie.
What is that word again?
Hercule Poirot. He is the French counterpart to Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, I understand. You're saying a name. Got it.
Yeah. So it's like it's a series.
Is that like Murder on the Orient Express? Is that guy?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay, cool. Amazing.
So yeah. It's really funny. I actually went and got we were at like some flea market in Tennessee for whatever reason. I think we were just out of town, just doing whatever. And I picked up a whole book on tape series of Hercule Poirot books that I would listen to when I went to bed. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It was one of those ones. It was like 16 cassettes. It's a good one. I listened to them all. I love whodunits. Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie, definitely really good go-to whodunit style books. Also, really fast reads. The like Hardy Boy and like Nancy Drew series. Some of those little mysteries that they have to solve are pretty intense.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's the same concept, really. It's just like a younger audience, so they like maybe murder isn't the thing, but like somebody stole the lemonade money.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of theft, a lot of burglary. How did they get in?
Missing
I don't know.
cats.
Yeah.
That's really fun. For me, I was thinking about this. It was hard not to just immediately go to like recency bias and just do the Knives Out series. But I know that in hearing some discussions and like interviews done with Rian Johnson, the director and the person who kind of writes these, he's one of those kind of like Christopher Nolan or like sometimes like Scorsese or like Tarantino, where like not only is he the director, but he's also like creating the story. It's not just like, hey, I took this book and now I'm going to do things to it. So like he was inspired by Agatha Christie a lot, and he used that inspiration to do exactly what we do a lot, where you take this idea and then you make little changes to it so that it's your own. So like, for example, Agatha Christie is very often set in England. Knives Out is set in America, the first one at least. It's usually a period piece where it's a little bit older, right? Like just in the time setting.
Yeah.
Knives Out, the first one is modern day.
Yeah.
They have cell phones. They have, you know what I mean? So it's like he already was taking little things and changing them, which I really appreciate. For me, because I was thinking about this and I didn't want to say Knives Out, I was starting to think of more obscure. There's a TV show where there's only one season currently available. It's set up for a season 2, but it's a Netflix show, so that'll never happen. But the show was called Bodies.
Okay.
and it was a whodunit through time. So it follows 3 detectives, or I'm mistaken, 4 detectives. One in like the 1800s, one in
Okay.
the 1920s, or maybe like 1930s. I think it's either right before World War II or like, I can't remember super specifically, but
Got
something
it.
like that. Then there's one in like 2020, like our time period essentially. And then there's one in the future where there's flying cars. Now,
Sure.
here's the crazy part. All 4 of those detectives, because they're all detectives in their own time periods, all of them find the exact same body. It's got the same tattoos, same cause of death, same person. So now obviously, as far as whodunits go, immediately you're like, oh, cool. So the rules of physics are different. Like,
Right.
add that
Right.
to the list of weird little circumstances that are happening in this story. So it's
Interesting.
fascinating. I was a huge fan of it. It genuinely interested me a lot. I loved the jumping between things, how like a detective in the past may find a clue and maybe they end up like they're being followed, they're being chased, they're like, fuck, they're after me, they're gonna get me, da da da. So they like carve into a brick on this random London alleyway. They carve into a brick like a symbol, and then the person 50 years later finds that symbol, and it's like that
Huh.
symbol wasn't there a second ago because the person didn't put it yet. It was just like the way the time, it's
Oh,
like another
right,
one of those time
right.
travel-y kind of
Yeah.
vibes where it can
Yeah.
get a little complicated and
And
silly,
there will
but
be a bootstrap paradox or two, probably.
probably, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I think they did a decent job as far as TV shows go, where it's like how much of this is actually based in like actual physics and space time. They did a decent job of like tying the loose ends, but still, it was just fascinating. It was like really really interesting seeing how it all plays out and stuff. Yeah, I loved it. I was really
It
into
sounds
it.
really fun. It sounds really fun.
It's just an interesting premise when you tell
Yeah.
people about it. You're like
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
detectives, 1 body, 4 different time periods. And they're like, what? How is the body
Yeah.
in all these different time periods? And like, I won't spoil it, but oof,
Yeah.
it was crazy, very good. I enjoyed it a
Huh.
lot. Um, and so
Oh, yeah.
today we're going to be talking about clues,
Yes.
which is why we talked about whodunits. Let me just really quickly before we get into the meat of the episode, let me clue in our audience. Hey, gang,
Haha.
Patreon. Go check us out on Patreon. We have all kinds of crazy things on there. Homebrew. We're gonna be putting up a really cool setting that we created in a bonus action. It's hard for me to remember if it was a bonus action or a regular episode these days because we have so many bonus episodes that you can get access to on the Patreon. But we've done these like build a world workshops where we just roll on a bunch of random wheels, we get a bunch of keywords and I like indicators, and then we just go nuts. Where we're like, okay, underwater, but woodpeckers are there. Why are woodpeckers underwater? What's the deal there? And we did it. We found a way to make those 2 things work. That setting, I've decided to call it Rarawai, which is straight up, it's Maori, I want to say, for underwater. So it could not be more basic in terms of that.
Fair enough.
But there's a whole PDF that we created. It's got graphics, it's got artwork, it's got all public domain and or Canva Pro artwork, but nonetheless, artwork. It's got descriptions, it's got rumors and legends, plot hooks, notable locations and notable people, a history of the civilization known as Rarawai. Picture like uh just like underwater bubbles. It's just an underwater glass dome compound, but it's like an entire city. And then there's like it branches off, like tunnels go to the other compounds that are all connected. So one of them
It's a
is
really
like
fun
the
setting.
sugar mines. One of them is the forest, the fig forest that specifically grows. I looked up what kind of tree gives off the most oxygen, and
Fig
it's a type
trees.
of fig plant.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's obviously like multiple kinds of figs and stuff, but like one of the figs. So I was like, okay, it's a fig forest, and that's how they get their oxygen. And so then it was just like so fun, like actually putting it down. That will eventually come out on there at one of the paid tiers because it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I'm already starting to work on the next one. So the one where we have the clerics. This one's definitely a bonus action.
Oh,
The clerics and the wizards.
yeah, I love that one's really fun.
So I called that one. I looked up, and I can't even remember what language it is.
Mhm.
But I looked up the word for like book or study or something like that, something to represent wizards.
Uh-huh.
And then I looked up the word for like faith or pray or something like that.
Right.
And it was in the same language. So the city is called Yusan hyphen Verise. Yusan Verise is the name of the city, but it's got a dash. And so there's the Yusan side, wizards,
Mhm.
intelligence, libraries, blah, blah, blah. And then we have Verise, which is faith, temples, clerics,
Yeah.
divine magic. And I'm going into that, building that PDF so that that'll be available. It'll be the same thing: notable locations, people, history, descriptions, plot hooks, like so much that you can use to just pop it into any setting, give or take.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, like you might have to add things. Like if you're doing a super sci-fi thing, you might have to add
Mhm.
some shit. But like for the
Yeah.
most part, you'll be able to figure it out. But it's also open-ended enough where you can add a ton of things and make it your
Mhm.
own and really assimilate it to your own setting. So they're
Absolutely.
really, really fun. Like as long as your setting has oceans, you can put Rarewy in your game pretty much.
Mhm.
So check those out. Available
Yeah.
on the Patreon. Link in the description. All
Amen.
right, let's get into the meat of the episode.
Let's do it.
So today we're talking about clues. Clues, I mean, what are they? What are they? We could go to the Cons dictionary.
Uh,
But the important thing, it looks like I've already looked this up because it was already in my thing, and I just chose not to put it as a part of
That's
that.
so funny.
It's literally
Yeah,
in my search history.
clues.
Yeah, it's a clue. A clue. Whoa, what a weird way to define this. A clue to a problem or mystery is something that helps you to find the answer to it. A clue is an object or a piece of information that helps someone solve a
Okay.
crime. Because obviously there's more definitions and each one is
Right,
like
right,
a little
right.
more. A clue is a crossword or game in which information which is given to help you find the answer to a question.
Like a crossword clue.
Exactly. Or like when someone's telling you like, hey, guess my favorite thing. It starts with a G. It's like, all right, give me a clue. I'm like, okay, well, it's a you know. Um, but yeah, so clues are just a way to provide information that the party or individual does not already have.
Right.
And that can look like a million different things. How that clue is delivered, how it is presented, and also what they learned from it, maybe how they were able to get that clue in the first place. And we're going to talk about all of those different things there to give our dungeon masters in the audience here some ideas.
hmm Um,
So,
yeah,
yes.
how do you come up with like clues? Like that's kind of really because the
Mm-hmm.
big thing is you don't want it to be the same thing over and over again. Go to this
Mm-hmm.
place, kill the bad guy. The bad guy says some cryptic riddle, and then move on. And then it's that type of deal. There's like a lot of different ways to incorporate different stuff, and I think that's really what we're gonna shut down or go over today is how to keep the clues interesting so that you have your players keep hunting around for stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's truly, it comes down to like when I'm coming up with clues, the broad answer is really like, well, what do I want them to know?
Right.
Like, what do they not know? And what do I need to tell them?
hmm
Because clues are really just like the easiest way for a DM to kind of enter the setting and go, hey,
Right.
did you guys know that the BBG loves this one little thing and that's a clue? Or something like that.
Right.
Like,
Right.
did
Right.
you know that the BBG only writes their notes in Infernal? Maybe that means something. And it's just kind of like little things because a clue can be the final clue, the big clue, the one that's like,
hmm
it's the dagger. It has this person's fingerprints on it. It's
Right.
like, that's
Right.
a
Right. Right.
huge clue
Right.
versus like, there is a dagger missing from this display. A little bit
Right.
of a
Right. Right.
softer clue because now you have to find the dagger. You don't know who took it. There's still more clues to be found. Sometimes a clue can lead to another clue. Sometimes it leads to the actual answer. Sometimes you have to put the clues all together. So there's so many different ways to do it.
hmm
I think that clues are, yeah, it's really just my way of being a little railroady, right?
mean,
Like
it's
in the better
fair.
sense of
Yeah.
railroady, not like, because
Yeah.
we've talked about this ad nauseum, but like we know that railroading can be bad depending on how heavy handed you are with it, but it
Mhm.
also can be fine because you're simply saying, hey guys, the bad guy
Right.
lives in this town. So like I'm just letting them know, technically I'm not forcing them to go to that town. I've just given them the clues to let them know that that is where the BBEG is. So
Right.
if assuming they're trying to solve the plot, that's where they got to go. So I have softly railroaded them.
Yeah.
I've just laid the tracks out. Whether they get on the train is up to them.
That's
Right?
a good metaphor. That's
Exactly.
good. Yeah.
It also, clues sometimes for me can be a really good way. It's like the equivalent of when you're in the dungeon and it's like, okay, you can either go left, right, or straight ahead. And it's like
Right.
you can give different clues to be like, here's a little bit of information. This one connects to the BBG. This one connects to like your backstory. This one connects to the current mission.
Mhm.
And so you could give a lot of things. That way the players have more information and therefore more options. So kind of the opposite of railroading, where you're almost sandboxing. Well, you're kind of, in reality, you're just building multiple tracks.
Mhm.
And then it just becomes a trolley problem. We killing this guy or what? I
Wow.
wouldn't even
Yeah, that
hesitate.
took a dark turn.
I wouldn't even
That made
hesitate.
that
Absolutely.
made
Sorry, Bucko.
a turn.
Great or good. I'm the greatest good you're ever gonna get. Anyway, I'm building a magic item called the Lawsuit of Frozone, which was why I'm thinking about that. But so basics. Let's go over
Yeah.
some
Let's
basics
let's do it.
about
All right.
clues. So we already said clues give the party, the players, information that they did not previously have. Or another way, like in addition to that, it could also solidify things, like a theory that the players might have. Maybe the
Right.
players are like, we think that the BBEG is from the Nine Hells, but we don't know.
Mhm.
A clue can solidify that, or go in the opposite direction. It can very much be like, nope, he's definitely not from the Nine Hells because you found these clues.
Right. Right.
Um,
There's actually another person you got to look for now.
exactly.
Yeah.
So when we're giving clues, we have to not only think about what do we want the party to know,
Mm-hmm.
but why do we want the party to know it? I think when you start getting into that, you start maybe even coming up with better clues, or maybe that's where you start getting closer to like Agatha Christie level of like clues that still require the player to decipher them.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And that's
it's
kind
hard.
of what I like about the like that strain of whodunit, like the Agatha Christie and the Sherlock Holmes era of like whodunit stories, is the crimes themselves are so fantastic.
Mm,
There's so much flair about it. There's this weird, oh, actually, it was this guy on the roof 3 miles away, and somebody raised
I
the
know.
house 4 inches and then let it back down so that he could make some kind of crazy shot. And it's like, I think part of that is like the fun of this is finding out these fantastic things that have occurred after the fact. And I
That
think
is true.
especially in a D&D setting, there's so much you can do with that that is, more than just being, you know, turn of the century uh England, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you get magic involved and
Hmm.
figuring out how to make that work. Because that can be the tricky part, obviously, because magic can complicate things. Because in theory, it would make the players more powerful and capable of things that Sherlock Holmes, as smart as he is, incapable of. He can't speak
Right.
with the dead, but a player
Right.
can in D&D.
Right.
You know, so there's like all different kinds of things to consider. Um, I do think, oh boy, yeah, I think that coming up with clues is challenging
Hmm.
because you have to ask yourself not only what do I want the party to know, why do I want the party to know this, but how much do I want the party to know and when,
Hmm.
right? Like, because sometimes using like Sherlock Holmes and most Agatha Christie things, even like Knives Out and stuff, it's like you get those early clues where you're starting to get this thing. You start
Hmm.
learning about using like Knives Out. every single person at the party has a motive to kill this person.
Right.
Those are all clues, even if the clue isn't helpful. It
Mhm.
actually just muddies things up. So there's ways to give clues that can be misleading. There are ways to give clues that are like confusing or even like counterintuitive.
Mhm.
Man,
Yeah.
it really is like it's the
So
same as like foreshadowing. Because that's kind of in a way a clue is like a foreshadowing thing where it's like you're foreshadowing who the villain is or
Mhm.
whatever, but you're
Right.
doing it in a really like subtle way that isn't just directly being like, well, their blood type was AB,
Mhm.
so it's Frank. Frank's a murderer because he's got AB blood. Like it can't. Obviously, that could be like maybe the final clue, but
Right.
like you have to be like so careful about how much you give away at what time and stuff, especially when you know the players have access to certain things. Because like
Mhm.
if your players have access to teleportation, like they can get somewhere really quickly. If they have
Yeah.
scry, they can spy on somebody really easily. So it changes
And
maybe
so
some things, but
we do have one benefit in this case as a dungeon master though when it comes to coming up with the clues, and that's that we already know what happened. So,
that's huge.
if say you're trying to set up a murder plot or something like that, like somebody's been murdered. Well, you know how they got murdered. You know how they did it, who did it, all of those things.
Why
And
they
then
did it, yeah.
you can start then thinking about, okay, what actual like remains or evidence is gonna have to be dealt with after the fact. What's happening to the body? What's happening to the knife? Did they go shop around for equipment to make this happen? Like you can start laying once you know the end result, you can work your way back and start leaving like basically leave the breadcrumbs to or leave the
Mm-hmm.
breadcrumbs to get to the case
To
or
this, yeah.
to the solution.
Yeah, you're like starting at the witch's house and leaving breadcrumbs to the edge of the forest
Right.
rather than the technical way, which it would be in reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a solid ass way to do it because that is so true. If you know that the BBEG is a vampire lord, then you can start leaving the breadcrumbs and the
Right. There's
clues to
gonna be
suggest
vampire
that.
spawn around. There's gonna be,
Yeah.
bats and all
Attacks
this.
maybe only happening at
Yeah.
night.
Right.
So
Exactly.
there's like, and that's like an example. So let's run with this for a second. The
Mhm.
BBG or for the sake of our mystery,
Yeah.
is a vampire lord. We're
Yes.
trying to track him down, figure out who it is in the first place. The fact that the attacks happen a lot at night is a clue, but not such a huge clue where you're like, the players hear that and they instantly are like vampires.
Oh, right. Right. Right.
But then the next
There's a
clue,
lot of
like
things
if
that could
you
be nocturnal
exact.
attackers.
It could be werewolves. It could be millions of
Yeah.
different things that
Yeah.
are sensitive to light. It could be drow. Who knows?
Right.
Not that I ever use sunlight sensitivity because I just think it's such an OP part of the game. It's like it just decimates a player's monster stats usability
Yeah.
when it's like, oh, cool, disadvantage on everything. Fantastic. I love it. But like then a further along clue could be something to the effect of like, as soon as you find a body with fucking puncture
Right.
holes in its
Right.
neck, you're like, I think it might be a vampire, and then like
Yeah.
it goes from there. You could even have some clues be like conversation about the victim, like victimology.
Hmm.
So like there's so many places we can get inspiration from, not just like these big whodunits like Agatha Christie and Knives Out and
Right.
Sherlock Holmes, but even like a Law and Order episode
Yeah.
of just being like, okay, why did this person get killed? Why was this person targeted?
Hmm.
Maybe we can find out some clues about that, the victimology side of things, to see why they were targeted. Maybe it was just circumstance and it was just wrong time, wrong place.
Right.
But maybe it was this person was single-handedly targeted as a result of their connections, their past deeds, something like that. And then, yeah, there's just so much you can do from that. So another example is, let's say the players are trying to find a specific location, like a dungeon.
Okay.
Some examples of clues that would lead the players to find that dungeon. It could be like a piece of paper, like a journal that was written by somebody who visited the dungeon hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. That's a great clue. We have a firsthand account of somebody who's been in the dungeon.
Right.
They might mention, and then there's clues within that. Maybe they left it as a cipher so that no one could read it. Maybe they were a little vague with their descriptions because they're not a good clue lever. And so they're very much like,
Right.
it was on a hill, there were trees. One tree had a bunch of squirrels. And you could tell because of the way that it is. And so like
just can't walk away from that joke when you said it.
I love that joke. It's my favorite joke. I saw somebody do it recently, actually, and it made me laugh really hard. Somebody like just a random account on Instagram. But so that's one example.
Sure.
You also could have there be like a prophecy that somebody's heard about that is connected to this dungeon. And then you get to investigate the prophecy itself. Maybe it's written in like a limerick or like some kind of poetic verse or some shit like that. Or maybe it's a rhyme scheme. Or maybe there's nothing special about the prophecy itself. It could just be like, in 1,000 years, the dungeon doors will open, and from henceforth, oozes will climb the mountaintops. Well, if that starts to happen, then it's like, okay, the prophecy is true. Who made this prophecy? Oh, this religious cult, this taboo order of monks. Let's go check them out. Now we know more about their cult and their belief system, and that can help us interpret this clue a little differently, because that's a big thing too, is not just the clue itself, but how you interpret the clue and what you're bringing to the table. Because you can take that, like the written account, somebody's journal entry of, I've been to this dungeon, here's what it looks like. Somebody could look at that from the perspective of like a history check. Somebody could look at that from the perspective of like a calligraphy check to check the handwriting to see if there's anything hinky there. Like, I'm just trying to outside the box, other than just investigation checks. We'll get into the mechanics more, but so many different ways to do it. Another example would just be like, hey, there's this monster here and it shouldn't be here.
Right. Yeah.
Like this monster isn't from around this area. It's one thing to run into 2d4 wolves. Why are we running into 1d4 plus 1 mountain trolls or whatever, you know?
Yeah. It's very interesting to also, because like the clues don't have to be right on the nose. Like when you find that written account of somebody that knows vaguely where the dungeon is, okay, well now they have a general area they can start searching. All right, cool. You start searching through the forest or through the woods in this area, and you come across a odd totem of some sort. The totem leads on a path that leads you to this weird religious order or old monastery or something like that. And then there's more information there. Oh shit, there's weird monster. There's some monster that's not right here. Let's investigate further. And so like the clues lead to each other eventually. Like,
it can be
ideally,
interconnected.
I should say, I'll say ideally they'll lead into one another.
But that could actually be another really cool way, because you could leave like a false clue, like a misleading clue. And the fact that it's not connected to any of the other clues, no other clue corroborates it. Now you're starting to be like, oh, maybe we're being fed misinformation.
Right.
You know, like, because you can make it a little more complicated where it's like some of these clues are legit, some of them are not good clues. And you have to find out. And I also think using your example of like the clues will lead you to a secondary location, how many clues, or like the line of clues that how elaborate your network of clues are that eventually lead to the final aha, depends on the length of your thing, your campaign, your sessions, whatever. Because if you're doing a very long campaign, then you don't necessarily want your first clue to be like, the BBG loves to hide out in this place at this time. Like, that's not a good clue for the very beginning. It gives everything away. Obviously there's maybe a time and a place, but I think the shorter the campaign, the juicier the clues should be, just for the sake of like, you're trying to get them from A to B, got to get them there a little faster. So the clues should be a little bit more straightforward. So then we have all these ideas of different types of clues and why we're making these clues and all different stuff. how do we actually give the clue? We have the information that we want to give in the clue, but how do we actually transfer that knowledge from us, the DM, to the players?
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal here today is to go over that. But I mean, you can do it in any number of ways, really. I mean, you can just straight up, here's a piece of paper, have it. This has
Yeah,
got a
you
clue on it.
find a letter in the
Yeah.
guy's pocket and it's
Yep.
written from their boss and it says, please kill the party.
Right.
You're like, oh
Right.
shit. Okay, that's a clue. The BBG knows about us, is sending out
Mhm.
assassins. What does that mean? Maybe we're getting close to their tail. Maybe that means something, whatever. Maybe
Mhm.
there's something in the letter because then you could just keep extrapolating from there. So it starts
Right.
as just a piece of paper with some
Right.
writing on it, but then you can go deeper and deeper and like, oh, this is written in a weird language, or there's a code in here, or you can, I don't know, insight check and tell that the person writing it was in a
Mhm.
bad mood because of how hard they were pressing down their quill. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
you
right,
could
right.
go that in depth. You
Yeah.
don't have to, of course. It
But
could
at the
just
end
be
of the
like
day, it is just physically
clue.
giving them a clue. Like, actually, here is a clue. Have a clue.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Another way of doing it, obviously, and this is kind of one of my favorites for the most part, because it feels more conversational. I can give a lot more information this way, and that's by talking with an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
NPCs they're loaded with clues. They got buckets of them, treasure troves of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so,
I
and then
think that's a
depending
really
on
solid one.
your standing with that specific NPC, it depends on the quality and or quantity of information they give you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
guy, some random dude on the street that doesn't know you from anybody is probably not going to give you as much information as the king who's hired you to slay a dragon.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. What I like to do for important NPCs, not just like a rando, but like a pre-planned, here's an NPC. I kind of have their name and everything already set up. Like the king would be an example, maybe
Mhm.
like the head guard, whatever, right? Like an
Right.
important named NPC. What I love to do is in my notes, bullet point what they know
Mhm.
and include everything that they know because you don't have to give every bullet point.
Right.
It can be a sliding scale of like, you guys did a really good job persuading them and like making them see why you need this information and you've gained their trust, yada, yada, yada. Here's all the bullet points.
Mhm.
Or you guys made a terrible first impression. This guy does not like you. He doesn't think you're going to get the job done. He gives you basic clues.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a dragon. And it breathed fire. So maybe red. I'm thinking red. You're like, great clues, bud. Thanks so much. He walks off talking
so
to his
funny.
friend. He's like, I'm not going to tell them that it was a gold dragon. Fuck them. Like, shit. So, like,
So funny.
that's a solid one. Dialogue with an NPC is so
love it.
good because there's
Love it, love
so
it.
much information. There's so many different ways to give that information. Sometimes it can be a willing NPC who's trying to give information and give clues willingly. Sometimes it could be somebody not trying to give clues, but you get those clues anyway through detect thoughts, insight checks, whatever, right? Like scrying, who knows, a millions of different ways in
Yep.
D&D specifically. Another way to get clues is research.
Yeah.
Very common throughout. And I'll include with research would include like recon,
Yeah.
right? Because you guys have gotten trillions of clues that way, even though maybe like broadly speaking, we wouldn't in our brains think of them as like clues. It's just like information, but
Right.
like technically can be considered a clue. It helps you solve a problem. How do I get into this fucking place? Let's scope it out. Let's see the guard changes. Let's see what kind of defenses they have. Let's see when the bosses come up and how often. Let's see who goes in and
Big
out of the
fan of the
building.
recon mission.
Whatever.
Big
And
fan.
now we have a better idea of going into it. We've received all this extra information. Now we know more going in. We're better prepared. And that's what clues are. So I think research and recon are two really good ways. Research is an interesting one. Let's talk about this for 1 second because I'm curious your take on this, because it is easy for a dungeon master to fall back on the idea of, hey, can I see if this book is in the library, and can I see if I can research this upcoming monster that we're fighting or this upcoming setting that we're going to or whatever. it's easy to just fall back on either doing like an investigation check to check books and see what you can find, or a more specific intelligence check. Like if they're studying a magic thing, then maybe you just do Arcana. But is there anything else we can do to make that a little bit more interesting rather than just, hey, can I do some research? Yeah, sure. Make an investigation check. 25. Okay, here's what you researched. Is there any way that we can think of to make that more interesting rather than so fast? There's going to be times where you're like, we don't need to spend 30 minutes in the library. We can just make it a single dice roll and move on. And that's fine. I'm not discounting that. But sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you want to maybe make the research a little bit more interesting. I think one way
I also make an argument for history on these kind of checks.
No doubt. Yeah, it depends on what they're researching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, a book is a historical text.
Oh, I see what you mean.
A text of the past. So
right.
Technically, it's still the same. I consider it in the same vein.
Interesting. I don't know if I would allow history every time. If it's a history book or it's specifically about the past and stuff, absolutely I'll allow history.
Even a bestiary though is like it's a historical account of this particular monster.
Yeah, but they're alive now. The things in that book are also applicable now. It's not specifically a past thing. I'm being a little nitpicky here.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if you were studying dragons, unless you were studying, because this is how in depth you could get with it. If you were studying an account of a prior adventuring party fighting that dragon, that's history all day. But if you're just studying shadow dragons, I can see the argument for history. And I would also then flavor my information very specifically, because I think that's very helpful. I low-key hate it when players, not a big deal. It's genuinely not. Hate is a strong word. I dislike it when players are like, oh, because I'll say, yeah, you guys can make a history check, an Arcana check, a nature check. And they'll go, oh, it's all the same modifier, whatever. And I go, no. Tell me what one you want to do so that I can flavor my information based on the check. Because if you're studying shadow dragons and you do a history check, I'm going to handle that differently than if you do an Arcana check. Right. Arcana check, I might talk about the magical nature of that shadow dragon, how it's been warped by the Shadowfell, how its breath weapon is different, how its resistances might have changed, all these little things.
Right.
But if you're doing a history check, then maybe I'm talking about a specific shadow dragon or an account of somebody who went to the Shadowfell and saw a shadow dragon or something to that effect.
Right.
I find that to be so helpful as a DM. I want people, especially like if I'm asking another thing I love to do in the same vein, when the entire party is either researching or making checks of some kind, I like it when the party splits up what they're checking. Yeah. Because sometimes you'll be like, hey, there's 5 of you. You guys can make this check or this check or this check. And then everybody goes, well, I'll just do perception. Let's just all do perception. And I'm like, cool. That's fine. I didn't have specific stuff for history or Arcana. Why would I do that? Why would I even offer it? What an idiot. It's like, that drives me nuts sometimes. But
yeah,
another way of giving clues is just in the surroundings, just in the things around them, whether it's artwork or decorations, or it could be like culture of some kind. Like I was watching Anthony Bourdain today while I was writing this outline, actually. And it made me think of how much I love food. Like, you know that I'm a big food person. I love Anthony Bourdain, and I'm watching the show, and like, this is going to be hyper specific to food and culture and how much you can learn from specifically food. So in Vietnam, there's a famous sandwich called the banh mi. Are you familiar?
Yes.
It usually has pork of some kind on it, but some kind of meat, protein. Sometimes it's like a pate or something like that. But then it's got like cilantro and pickled vegetables and different things on it. But it's on a baguette. Now, it's a different kind of baguette. It's not super, super French because it's not as crusty. It's a little softer. Now, you might be wondering, a baguette in Vietnam? Did Vietnam have this weird like bats and birds co-evolution thing where they both just made baguettes on their own? No. It has everything to do with colonialism.
Naturally.
France colonized Vietnam. They brought their food over. And when they left and Vietnam became an independent country,
they kept the baguette.
They kept the baguette. And you can find this across so many different cultures.
Mhm.
This idea of like, obviously colonialism, imperialism, Taylor and I feel very strongly we're anti.
Yeah.
We're-
Yeah.
Call us crazy,
Against.
we're against.
Against.
But it is crazy, and this happens all the time in food, especially like how lobsters used to be poor people food, and now
Mhm.
it was like prison food, and now
Right.
it's this insane thing. The same thing with like certain
Mm.
cuts of meat. It's the poor people's food. French cuisine, as it stands, is like mostly peasant dishes that have been elevated to this level. There's
Right.
so much you can learn about a culture of a place and their history through their food.
Mhm.
And that's such a specific thing. So I like that idea of like using the surrounding to give you little clues that maybe not aren't as obvious as like the dragon's in that cave.
Right.
But like maybe bigger picture things of
It's-
like we're in a new setting. We just got to the Shadowfell.
I
How
will
you set up the
say-
markets or the cities might inform the players on what the Shadowfell is going to be like in a bigger picture.
Right. I will say using these kind of descriptors as clues, be ready for your players to miss them. Like there are a lot of times, don't try to put anything super, super important in a description of a thing unless you intend to dangle it in front of them like jangly keys.
Big time.
Because a lot of times, and Justin can testify, it's happened a million times in our campaign where they'll put something in a description that they want us to hear but not process.
Mm-hmm.
That way,
Yeah, I do
later
that.
on, later
I
on,
bury
yeah,
things in
yeah.
lists.
Yeah. So just be careful doing it. If you are going to be using a description of something as kind of a clue of some sort, either make it super, super, super obvious or
Yeah.
expect them to miss it, like really and honestly. Like a
Right.
lot of times you're going to have to beat some of these clues into your players. And it happens.
That's such a good point because it truly takes practice and just like repetition to learn how like what works. And obviously it's different table to table. Different players are going to be able to perceive things differently, you know, maybe they're more used to that and stuff. Like Taylor's more used to my DMing, so Taylor it has a better chance of finding my little secret things that I don't necessarily want the players to like don, but I do want to be able to go, remember when I said that this person had this thing?
Yeah.
It's been there the whole time. For example, there was a lady who came to their house, the adventuring party's house, and I know that she's holding a cursed object. We'll just use this beanie. She's holding a cursed object. If you touch this object, you are instantly teleported to a pocket dimension where you're going to be forced to play a dungeon board game against a beholder. Her husband has been teleported, and that's why she is seeking the adventuring party's help. When I describe her clothing as she answers the door, I do two things. The first thing, and I do this with a lot of like clues that I don't want players to immediately pick up on, is I make sure that the NPC giving those clues or foreshadowing kind of stuff has an interesting, silly voice. That's just a personal thing. I've found that people disarm themselves when you either do like the old man voice, old lady voice, or in this case, it was Southern Belle is like the thing there of just being like, well, hello there, sugar. How y'all doing today? Listen, I just needed your help real quick, if that's all right. And everyone immediately, the guards go down and they're like, what a sweet angel. And then, and so then I'm describing what she's wearing. And I'm like, yeah, she has on this long dress and it's kind of like a little ball gowny, kind of poofs up at the skirt area a little bit. You see that she does have like a shawl over her shoulder. She has these long gloves on and notice I said gloves. I move on from gloves. I immediately go, oh, and her hat. Let's talk about her hat really quick because it is important that she's wearing gloves. That's why she's not teleported.
Right.
So when the players inevitably go, well, why wasn't she teleported? I said she was wearing gloves. Play the tape back. I said she was wearing gloves. I just buried it in five different pieces of
stenographer
information.
would read back my last statement.
Yep,
You'll
exactly.
find.
So that's always definitely a way to do it when you're trying to be a little tricksy about the whole thing. So we have like using an example, here's how, as DMs, we can start to think about clues. Like Taylor mentioned, we know that if we as the DMs know the answer at the end, then we can retrofit and kind of go backwards from there. So, for example, the players, the point of this campaign or session, at least this arc, if you will, this adventure, no matter how long it takes, the players are escorting a convoy that has valuable items.
Okay.
Broadly speaking, we can obviously get into more detail about what those items are. Maybe it's a magical type of animal. It's a magical livestock that's very valuable. Maybe it's a precious stone. Maybe it's magic items. Maybe it's a person. Who knows? Now, there are so many different ways that we can provide clues to better inform our players going into that mission. Most of these can happen before we're even like on the road.
Yeah.
So the first one would be information about the previous convoys. Has this happened before? Are we the first convoy to escort this thing, or have you tried before and failed? If so, is there anyone we can talk to? Are there maps, or are there nearby known threats? Like, if you just eventually you play this enough where you can like imagine your players asking questions. Like, I know that if I offered this to Sword Coast Coots of Celestial Arcanum, our home games group, and I was like, oh yeah, this I don't know, Duke, this Earl of Sandwich decides to be like, all right, so I need you to escort this caravan of carriages from here to that city over there. Immediately the players are going to be like, well, what are we transporting? Are there any threats in the area that we need to know about? Has this ever happened before? Like, why are you asking us? Have you?
That was my first question. Why are you picking us? Because we got other shit going on.
Yeah. You're bringing a gun to a fist fight. Like, what are we doing?
Right. Why us?
So there's so
asking
many
for
questions.
our help. You are in some shit. So what's going on?
And then there's also, you can start asking about like, what is the valuable material?
Right.
And then that can start to help you, because then you can start to thinking, even if it's not a clue that's specifically in the world, it could be a clue that prompts questions from the players. For example, what is this valuable material that we're pushing?
Right.
And then that will lead questions of, well, who would want this? Like, why would people stop the caravan and steal this
then
thing?
You can start thinking about who, if you know who wants it, then you can kind of start preparing for them showing up. It's very high probability that they will show up for something like this.
Clues of their arrival or their having been there before.
Right. They've checked 7 other convoys. They just show up, knock out the guards, look inside, and leave.
Yeah.
But we know that they're looking for this specific thing.
Yeah. And depending on what it is, that can help us as DMs not only continually just delve deeper and deeper, but also clue wise continually give clues. Because if it's a person, then you have to ask, okay, who would want this person? Are they trying to kill this person, like assassination? Or are they trying to kidnap this person for ransom reasons, for political reasons? Is it for money reasons? Like, so many different things.
Yeah.
And if it's a physical object, what can it be used for, if not just money?
Right.
Like, maybe it's a powerful, like, Critical Role does it and other things do, but like the residuum, it's just like a magical rock stone thing that can be substituted for magical components. So instead of 300 gold worth of diamonds, you can use 300 gold worth of residuum and it would work the same.
Gotcha. Okay.
So maybe it's something like that.
Like
maybe
a universal material component.
Exactly. Yeah, it's universal donor kind of vibes. And so that's another thing that we can check on. We can also, either beforehand or maybe along the journey, we can also check out the sites where the other convoys were attacked.
Right.
Treat it like a crime scene. And now we're doing survival checks. We're looking for broken branches. We're seeing if there's weapons, if there's arrows, are there dead bodies? How were they killed?
Right.
So many different things. Are there footprints? Did they come up on carriages or mounts, or were they just in the woods? So many different things that you could do from there. And then there's also just like just more info from nearby locals.
Yeah.
which can include people, because you can just talk to a person. You can talk to the
Mhm.
quest giver, somebody who's been on the convoy before, something to that effect. You can, because it's D&D and we have magic, you can talk to animals, you can talk to
For sure.
plants, you can talk to the dead.
Yeah.
So talk about helpful clues potentially,
I
man.
don't know how I feel about calling the dead the locals. Something about that feels a little weird. I don't know. I'll
Yeah,
think
well,
about
maybe we're in a cemetery.
it.
I don't know. But
It's like
yeah, no.
it makes me think of like going to the beach
Former
and seeing a
locals.
zombie on a surfboard. Oh, dude, he's here every fucking week, man. He
Hell
looks
yeah,
like the
dude.
locals. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Gnarly. Hang 10. I love
Well,
that.
anyway.
So many different types of clues, so many different things that clues can teach us and show us. But let's get into some mechanics,
Yeah, let's do it.
because we've talked about it already at the top, where it's like it would be, although it is like a safe bet, I guess, like you could do it often. I think it's a little boring to just constantly be doing investigation checks.
I agree.
Now, investigation checks are an interesting thing on their own, because this is one of those Critical Role things that I think Critical Role has maybe like done a disservice. Not their fault. It's just their own popularity. It genuinely is not like Critical Role's fault for this. It's the same as
Right.
like the Matt Mercer effect bullshit thing. Is like,
Right.
it's no one's fault. It's just people
It
being
has
weird
happened.
and
Yeah.
looking up at these people and being like, well, if they're doing it. And I've been guilty of that too. Like when I started D&D, I was like, flanking's a rule because they did it on Critical Role. And then I found out it was not a rule. It's a house rule. So like, I didn't know that. I just assumed. I thought Revivify required rituals because they do it on the show.
Right.
Every Revivify, unless it's sometimes in combat, Matt's a little looser about it, same way I am. But I thought that was a rule because Critical Role did it that way.
Right.
So Critical Role, Matt Mercer often, can't say that they still do this because I don't watch anymore really, but it used to be very like perception check is like this, looking around. Investigation is like this. We're going in. We're getting close.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that was kind of the difference, was just how in depth are you getting? Are you like getting your quote unquote hands dirty? Then it's an investigation check.
Right.
Like, which is why it was always used for traps, because you got to get up close. It's always used for like, is this door trapped? Investigation check, because that's the only way that you're going to be. You can't like look at a door from a distance and be like, unless it's like half open and there's a bucket on top. Like you don't really know unless you investigate. But I also know investigation can be used for just like thinking. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like it's like you can use it not just to find a clue, but maybe to solve a clue. You know? Like when you give your players a puzzle and they're like, I don't really know what we're doing here. Then you can go, okay, let me have everybody make an investigation check. And that could be like, not just are you getting your hands dirty and seeing a thing, but also like
putting
you're putting
pieces
it together.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, in addition to investigation, there are plenty of other skills. So many. Some of them
skills
are intelligence based, which makes sense, but not everyone. There's plenty of wisdom based ones that we can do. There's even like, we can get into even more abstract examples, but you could do charisma things, a persuasion check to get the information, or a deception check to get the information, different things. But like, and if you're in a forest, baby, that's nature. That's survival.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on what they're looking for and what clue you're trying to give them. Survival would make more sense for like footprints and like finding your way, and maybe like the moss growing on this side of the rock means a thing or whatever.
Right.
And then you could do nature checks for like, oh, this is an invasive species, it shouldn't grow here. Or like, hey, there's on this body, here's like a really abstract example of a nature check. But you see this in like crime shows all the time. But like, hey, here's a dead goblin. Oh, look at this. Under their boot is a red clay. There's no red clay in this area. He must have come from the red clay mountain.
Right.
Boom, done. You know what I mean? There's a great clue. We know where he's from. Because he tracked the mud in here. So there's so many different things you can do. Obviously, if you're talking to a person, a great way to get information other than persuasion, deception, and those things is also insight. Being able to find out, like, I know you and I are big on, like, we don't like for insight checks to just be a truth.
Right.
What is it
No,
called? A
it's
lie detector?
yeah. It's body language. It's how are they carrying themselves? Are they giving these weird have you ever seen the show Lie to Me?
Yes. Not like I've seen
Yeah,
clips.
yeah. But like the little are they giving these weird little micro expression things? Like that's what an insight check is not it's not is the person lying, it's what are they lying about?
Yeah. That's so funny. I do think insight is an interesting thing because there are some times where you're just like, hey, this person came out and said a thing and it's definitely false. And like, I can dance around it, but essentially I'm just answering, is it true or is it false?
Right.
So sometimes it can be really tricky. So you have to, and again, this is just a practice thing of like, how are you describing a successful insight check?
Right.
Are you just out loud going, you can tell he's lying? Or are you out loud going, I mean, and obviously it depends on the numbers rolled and if you have a DC in your head and that kind of stuff. But like, we're going to talk about DCs in a second, but you could say something to the effect of like, if it's like a near success kind of thing, you could say something to the effect of like, I mean, you do notice that they're fidgeting in their chair a lot and they seem a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's broad enough to where it's like they can make the inclination of like that might mean that they're lying, but it's not a definitive. We don't
Yeah.
know if they're lying. Maybe they're feeling that way because they're giving too much information, not wrong
Right.
information. You know, they're nervous
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about before we started recording. I just watched Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Man, they're failing insight checks when they're telling the Kremlin,
Right.
yeah. Everything's fine. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it fucking isn't. So insight checks. We also have the other just intelligence, religion,
Mm-hmm.
history, arcana, finding clues or like past studies while you're doing research, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Often I will use those as a memory thing. Like obviously you can use history just because it's like, do you remember this? But if it is specific to arcana or religion, I will just sometimes throw that out there.
Right.
Sometimes also with all of these types of checks, there are times when the players will ask for them. And then there are times when you, as the DM, can just offer them up.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, like sometimes, like, what if you say a clue and like the players miss it?
Mm-hmm.
And we gave the funny example of when I intended for you to miss it, the gloves.
Right.
But there are some times where you say a clue and they genuinely miss it, but you don't want them to miss it.
Oh, right. Right.
That is when you, as the DM, either if it's so important that you're nervous and you wouldn't feel good giving it to them on a nat one, then don't hide it behind a dice roll.
Mm-hmm.
However, you could also just, all right, this, you guys walk into the room, you see that this thing on the art, there's like a mural on the wall. It looks like it's depicting some kind of battle. There's monsters and soldiers fighting on either sides. It uses really only primary colors in it. Can I have everybody anybody who wants to can either make a history check or and then boom, I'm asking for the check. No one has to come up with it. I'm jumping into the clue instantly. If you do a group check, just more likely, this is true not just for clue finding and stuff, but like when you do a group check, thinking about mechanics, you're ensuring success.
Yeah.
Almost. Obviously, there's the chance. But when you're asking 4 players to make a perception check, one of them's going to get above a 15, surely, right? Like, that's always a thing. That's why, depending on how you handle stealth checks, can change the game. If you're doing a group stealth check versus one of you got a nat 1 on your stealth check, therefore everybody fit. Like, depending on how you treat stealth checks is similar to that, where it's like,
yeah.
Do I need everybody to pass this DC or just one of you to pass the DC or fail the DC or whatever?
Right.
And it depends on how much of a dick you want to be. Sometimes I am like, oh, one of you got a 5. Perfect. I wanted this fight to happen. Okay. Switching screens.
It's so funny. As far as the hiding roles and stuff or clue roles, I think another important skill as a DM to hone up is to notice when your party is like stalling or goofing or doing whatever and actually genuinely stuck.
Mm.
Because there are times when the party just doesn't know what to do, so they go off and do random shit. Or you'll just have 10 minutes of everybody just kind of sitting there and not talking while they're
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
going through notes or going through history or whatever, or just what have you. So my favorite
Yeah.
thing always, Justin just brought it up, is the group check. And when I think that the party is stuck, it's a group check with advantage. Hey,
That
I need the whole party to go ahead and give me a history check with advantage, please and thank you. Bam.
that
All
is
right, here
something
is the information
I
that you guys need
love.
to move forward.
Yep, yep, yep. I love asking for checks with advantage. That's actually a trick that I noticed Brennan doing all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I started doing it. Because you can tell, and to be fair, it's not as if he's actually doing it just because behind the scenes he really wants you to succeed. There usually is like another good story reason why you're getting
I
advantage
have a
as well.
really good, juicy bit of information that I really need you guys to roll good on.
But also
That's
it's
what I
like
do that for.
it makes sense that you would get advantage
Right.
because, like, for example, if your character Kaladin, a cleric and a sorcerer, storm stuff, Cord, the storm lord,
Mm-hmm.
me giving you advantage, my cat is being very needy right now. Scratch my leg. Jessica, please behave. So if I ask you for a religion check to know some deep lore about Cord,
Right.
not only do I, Justin, want you, Taylor, to succeed,
Right.
hence the
But also
advantage,
it
but
would
also
make
it makes
sense.
sense that I'm giving you advantage,
Right.
as opposed to just being like, hey, she is not giving up. She wants to be on my desk so badly. I refuse. She touches things. So if I, for example, was like, hey, Kaladin, go ahead and make, I don't know, a history check about the type of soil here as you see the different layers of sediment. There's no fucking reason I should give you advantage on that
Mm.
unless I, Justin, am truly like, but at that point, it's like, should I even have you roll for it?
Right. Right.
Like,
Right. Right.
or should I just tell you? Like, there are times I do think about that where it's like, I do when I give advantage, because I do that often. I
Mm-hmm.
want it to feel like this makes sense.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. Yeah.
sense
For
why
sure. For
that
sure.
person's getting advantage as opposed to only thinking about the number, which is a real thing. But
Mm-hmm.
so in that same vein of like quote unquote wanting the players to succeed to get this information and stuff, I think this is kind of low key true across the board for Dungeons and Dragons, with the exception of things like armor class and stuff. I think you shouldn't necessarily be using difficulty class or DC as a pass fail. Now,
Correct.
there are
I'm
times,
with you. Yeah.
but often I do not like doing pass fail kind of shit. I like doing ranges.
Degrees of success. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like the better you roll, the more information you get. The worse you roll, the less information you get,
Yeah.
or the worse information or
You're
something.
never getting nothing.
Exactly. And like another good example of like the group check too. I do this thing with group checks, especially like perception checks and stuff like that, where even the people who roll terribly, I still give them something. Usually it's like it'll be like, here's why you failed. You're distracted by, and it gives me an opportunity to describe something else in the setting that maybe is like interesting but not vitally important.
Right.
You're getting distracted by like there's all these monkeys in the trees. Whoa. It's like that's not really important for what you guys need to do, but I wanted to just mention that there's monkeys.
Right.
I think that's nice.
I thought there was cool
I just want
monkeys.
you to know that
There's
there's
monkeys
monkeys.
in the
So I do think, yeah, ranges are so good and fun. Even if you like in your head, you're like, I'm looking for 15-ish.
Mhm.
Then it still gives you an idea of the range, right? Because then the
Right.
further from 15 you get is either that much more of a fail or a success, but then you can still have some stuff.
Yeah.
I think all of that is, yeah, so helpful.
Definitely, definitely. You gotta let the party fail forward. I think that a lot of troubles, especially when we haven't done a D&D horror story episode in a while. We should probably do that's something.
Oof, man, they're depressing.
They are depressing. They are depressing, and this is honestly
It would be one thing if the
in
horror
this
stories,
economy. Yeah,
we have to find horror stories that are like, I accidentally gave them too many clues, as opposed to like, I told them that I don't like this boundary thing, and they did it anyway.
right.
Because
Yeah,
some
yeah,
of the
yeah.
horror stories we're finding are like fucking off. They're just
Yeah.
bad people, not just
Yeah.
bad at
Yeah,
being a
yeah,
dungeon
yeah.
master. They're like, I don't even want to know you.
But anyway, part of the bad horror story things is a DM that is too pass fail on the DCs of things on
Yeah.
either ability checks or investigation, like clue hunting and stuff like that, like we're talking about today.
Mhm.
You gotta the game needs to go forward somehow.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
propel the
Yeah.
game forward somehow. You can't just immediately hit it with a, oh, sorry, you got a 6. I was looking for an 8. Dang.
Yeah.
You got
And things
nothing.
start to get real slog like once you start going like, okay, you're in the room. There's a locked door. Ah, nope. Nope. Still locked. All right. You can try again. Okay. Ah, still locked. Okay.
Sure.
And now what? And so what? You're just gonna
Right.
have them keep trying the same fucking check over and over again, like,
Right.
which is not fun for anybody. Or like that's so silly. If they need to get behind this door. So like what I've started doing, and I think that for any DM that is having any issue with this kind of stuff, play a couple games of Kids on Bikes. Because
Yeah.
man, did Kids on Bikes help me a shit ton when it comes to stuff like this, because the players fail often because it's a mechanic in the game that rewards them with a resource called adversity tokens. But also it's like sometimes you're asking for a DC 10 and they're rolling a D4 and it has to hit a 4 multiple times to explode. So the chances of failure are so high that it's like, of course, going to happen.
Right.
But the book and the game itself, and obviously it just comes easier with practice, is you start learning about that failing forward idea, the idea of like success with consequences, or like just a downbeaten story,
Right.
where you can still push things forward. So like the easiest example would be like, you're trying to pick this lock on the door. Oh, you didn't hit the DC I had in my head for how difficult the lock was. You still pick it. It just takes longer.
Yeah. Or
Or
it breaks and they're gonna know that you went through. Because I
yeah,
mean,
or
a
you
lot
broke
of
your thieves tools, but
right.
you got in, but
Right.
these thieves tools are toast.
Right.
So there's like different ways that you can fail forward. They're still getting through the door, which is the forward, but they're still failing. So it took longer. It did this, whatever. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
made a loud noise when you did it.
Right.
You alerted people on the other side of the door that you're coming. There's so many different ways to do it depending on what you're doing. So I just think all of that is crucial to think about. And to that same effect, not all clues even need a dice roll at all. Sometimes you can
True.
just give your players information, right? Like, hey, can I check this guy, this dead assassin's pockets for stuff? If you know that there's just a note in their front pocket, just fucking give it to them. Obviously, you can do the investigation check. You can be like, hey, here you go. Obviously, an assassin maybe wouldn't have a note just in their front pocket, but sometimes and that's another Kids on Bikes thing that for me personally and my growth as a game master, dungeon master, is like Kids on Bikes doesn't have perception checks.
Right.
So I have to either force a brain roll every time to be perception or grit or something, which doesn't always make sense. Or I can just be like, hey, Taylor, your character sees a thing.
Right. Right.
Boom. Let's fucking go. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so much easier.
I do have players who like to roll for looting bodies. So the way that I generally will handle it is the investigation check. The body always has the note on it. If they do a really good
Even
investigation,
in that one, you get the note.
Yes. If they do a really good investigation check, maybe they've got a cool bit of weapon or a bunch of gold or a potion or something on them as well.
Yeah, a scale.
That's
I love
easy.
it.
Yep.
Absolutely. I do that a lot as well. I'll do that in sometimes what I've done too when I'm like, this is more like when I'm writing my own adventure modules. So like for Sword Coast Q, sometimes I'll have the perception thing be like a range where it's like 25 or above, you get this. 20 to 24, you get this. And so on and so forth, right?
Yep.
But it'll also be like cumulative. So it'll be like, if you get a 25, you get at that 25 level and everything below. But if I'm doing a group check, just to make it so that every player feels useful, I always will split it up. Like I'll start at the person who rolled the lowest and I'll be like, you see a castle.
It's
Next
there.
person, that castle has 3 towers. And these are only 2 fingers. Here's the other one. 3 towers. I just realized I did that. That's so dumb. 3 towers. And you notice the middle one is made of a different material. Next person. That different material looks like it could be float stone. You think that that middle tower could fly at any moment. Next person. You see that there's a guy on the top. He's trying to make that tower fly. It's about to go. You need to move. So then it's like, boom, you're constantly just like, enhance until you're there, you know? I think all of that is so important. So now thinking a little bit, we've done a lot of like, here's some information, here's some ways to get clues, a lot of ability checks. Some ways that we can give clues that aren't based on an ability check.
Right.
I think one example would be like, and this is one of those things of like, why I think for a game like Dungeons and Dragons, it can be very helpful. This is kind of true across the board. Anytime you have players who have like, whether it's a class or a playbook or a trope, like in the case of Kids on Bikes with strengths and stuff, it can be helpful to know what your players are capable of, right? So like knowing we have a player in the party who can cast see invisibility, maybe I throw in the bad guys casting scrying on you.
Right.
And so then even if they're not scrying on the person who has see invisibility, maybe I'll have that person who can cast it. I'll do something like, hey, go ahead and make a perception check. And it'll just be like a random perception check kind of thing. And I'll just have a number in mind and be like, yeah, you just sent something hinky. So I'm not telling them, hey, cast this spell, but it's just kind of like, yeah, you just sent something weird going on. And then it's up to the player.
Eyes on the back of your neck type of deal.
Yeah. If they roll higher, maybe I say something like that. You feel like somebody's watching you, you know, like the higher they roll, the more explicit I am with being like, somebody's fucking casting script.
Right.
There's an invisible orb.
For me, it's always the random wisdom save. Hey, make a wisdom save for me real quick. All right, cool. All right. And then that's it. That's all.
Yeah. Which is an interesting thing because, yeah, that's always an interesting thing because it really is like, do the players feel that?
Right.
Do they feel the wisdom saving throw? Like, do they as like in your body, do you know you're making a wisdom saving throw? Therefore, because like in theory, if you knew, then you would immediately be like, oh, somebody's casting something on me. Let's see invisibility. Let's see if it's a scry. The question is like, would they know that? Are you getting into metagaming? That's table by table discussion because I've heard a really interesting discussion about like death saving throws and stuff too. About like using an ability. Or no, not like hidden in the literal sense of like rolling them privately, but just the idea of like, would Kaladin know that Fellis, these are PC names for people who are unfamiliar. On the Patreon, we go over our whole home game. Check it out. It's so fun. But would Kaladin recognize that Fellis is making death saving throws and therefore be able to use either a spell or an ability to give her like advantage or something like that?
Right.
Like if you silvery barbs a bad guy and gave her the advantage or something like that, like, is that possible? Is that a thing you can do? Because like, do you see that the death saving throw is happening? And it's like, well, you would know that she's dying out because she hit 0 hit points. I think you would, but
I think you would too. I think because like 0 hit points is unconscious but breathing because you can still be stabilized.
But it's like dying.
But you're dying. Yeah. So, I mean, you're not looking good, but I think there are still enough visible signs of life. Like because you'd still be breathing. If you're unconscious on the ground, you're still breathing. So I think you would be able to tell, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways, and both ways it kind of feels like a table by table thing where it's like, depends on how you as the DM describe it. You know, like if you're describing like Phyllis is on the ground, clutching her wounds, bleeding out, her intestines in her hand, like you fucking know. You know she's making death saves, right? Even if
Right.
your character doesn't have a concept of the mechanic of death saves, like you know.
Right.
So like whatever. But other things that could be true are like obviously like detect thoughts or something like that, like information that you're almost stealing in that way. But even like getting it more even more intense is like a character whose memory has been modified. That's a clue in and of itself. Even if you don't find anything, like you don't know their memory was modified. We don't have greater restoration. We can't fix this. We don't know what it is, but we know that they've been fucked with. That's a clue. Because you know that you're trying to find somebody who either has access to that kind of magic or can just themselves cast that spell or something like that, where you're like, okay, maybe we're dealing with an enchanter, maybe we're dealing with a bard or something like that, or a wizard or whatever, or maybe we're just dealing with like a spellcaster in general. So many different ways. A collector of magic items, like maybe it's just a person who has a lot of scrolls, or a person who can hire a mage to cast that spell or something. So many different directions. There's also, we mentioned it already, but like speaking with animals, plants, or the dead. I think that's really fun, and I love it when players do that because it's just
I love playing plants. Plants are so fun.
I love it, dude. I love playing any of them. I think they're all fun because it really is just like it literally is the same fucking thing as going, hey, can I talk to a guy on the street? Hey, guy on the street, you seen anything? What do you know? It's that exact thing, but going, any squirrels? Any chipmunks? Any animals around? Any birds? You talk to them. Plants? Fern?
Hey, come here.
Crabgrass?
Come here.
Yeah, like whatever it is. Dead bodies? Like, I love that shit. Nobody takes Speak with Dead, man. I want people to take it. I understand that it's very circumstantial because you need to find the dead bodies and stuff, but man, I love Speak with Dead. I wish more people would take it. I've even gone so far as to like give magic items that have like one use of Speak with Dead for the day because I just want people to use it so badly. Or I've had an NPC. Because I had a Sherlock Holmes coded NPC in our home game. Conan AD. Because obviously it's Arthur Conan Doyle, and I just changed the thing, so his first name is Conan, like Conan the Barbarian, but it's just, and then AD, and then he had a bloodhound familiar because he was a wizard. His bloodhound familiar was called the Doctor, and he would just be like, yes, me and the Doctor are here to investigate, and he wore the little deer hunter cap kind of thing, deer stalker hat, I think it's called.
Deer stalker, yeah.
And then I gave him Speak with Dead because it was like my DM subtle, not so subtle way of being like, isn't this a cool spell, guys? See how cool it is when this NPC does it? You guys should think about taking it. Like, I love that because it's like, I never want to be the person who's like, hey guys, this one spell could be really cool if you guys take it. Because it's like, I don't want to tell you guys how to play your characters or like what to do. I mean, there are times when like I, Justin, am very much like, pretty sure you guys could cast scrying at any time right now. And it's like, while I appreciate players not abusing something like a scrying spell, because that could be fucking crazy, there is a part of me that's also like, you could though. You could use it a little more often. You know? I love Allie, but there are times where I'm like, use scrying. It's so fun. I love scry. That's another one that I get from Critical Role. The idea of like you're starting like a satellite and it's truly like enhance. That way, sometimes I will even give you information on a scry that technically the scry spell can't do. Because that's flavor. The enhance idea is flavor, right? Really what's happening is you're casting scrying. Let's say I'm trying to scry on Kaladin. Boom. Invisible sensor appears near, assuming you fail. Invisible sensor is around you, looking at you. And that's how that works. But for flavor, I like to be like, enhance. You see the earth, enhance. Asia, enhance. Pakistan, enhance. Why is Cal in Pakistan? We don't know. But he's there. And we're zooming in. And so sometimes I will flavor things because there's information I'm just gonna
scarfs and walking through an open market.
Exactly. He's in an open market. He's at the bazaar. He's bartering. I love that for Cal.
I don't know.
He
I
would.
don't know why that's so funny, but I do love that it's actually Earth Pakistan.
Yeah, right. It is.
Yeah. Somehow
That's
he's got
so
out of the
fun.
Sword Coast. And he's here on Earth.
Yeah. So, so I think that like what was I saying? Scrying. We're looking at the
Trying,
thing.
yeah, information
Uh
that you wouldn't
oh, so
normally
like
get.
what I will do sometimes as the DM is sometimes I will have the players roll a perception check.
Mm,
So Scry as it stands, you're gonna see some stuff without having to
right,
roll a fucking check, right?
right,
But there, I like to always do the little perception checks because it gives me an idea of like how good the casting of this spell is.
right,
And like, because we don't know, like, obviously there's a certain suspense of disbelief of like, for all we know, you're scrying and he's taking a shit. Like, but am I going to really
right,
make you waste your spell like that? Like,
right.
absolutely not. But the idea that you're perfectly scrying at the time that they're talking about the plan with
Yeah,
this important NPC you didn't even know he was working with, like, that's a stretch. Hence the perception check or investigation or something
Mhm.
is truly me being like, all right, we'll check this out. Like, make the check. We'll see how much you know. And it's less of like how much you can just see with the sensor, but it's more about like how perfect the timing was here. It's almost like a
Right,
luck check.
right,
And then like you could go further from there and through the scry back to our previous examples of clue giving. You could then be like, make a nature check. Okay, you see this type of tree in the background. It's an aspen. You can tell because of the way it is. And you know exactly where they are, where the aspens grow. And so it's like so much extra information you can give, right? I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
Scrying, I think, is one of the best spells. It's so powerful. It can be so deadly.
I had it for a minute. I don't remember how I got it.
I don't remember either because
I
it's
think
been so many times. I don't know. Yeah, did you ever have 5th level cleric spells? Because clerics get it for
No,
sure.
we had a
But
scroll. We had a scroll.
oh, okay. Because I
Spell
know
scroll. Yeah, no, I don't
Bellis
have fifth
has it,
levels.
but
I don't have 5th level spells
she
yet.
used to. Roger. Multiclassing, especially 3 times.
Mhm.
Hard
Yeah.
to get
Yep.
those high level
Hard.
spells.
I just got my 4th levels. I just got my 4th level cleric
I
spell
know.
back.
And you got divination.
I
Another
got
way to
divination
get
back.
clues.
Yeah.
Another really good way to get clues.
Talk to God.
That one's interesting too because
Yeah.
it's one of those where even in the spell text, it's like you're breaking immersion. You're asking the DM a question, even though it's like the character asking their deity. It's like
Right.
egotistical ego bump of like talking to the DM, asking them a question, and they have to answer honestly.
Mhm.
So there's ways to answer those questions that is honest, but maybe not just straight up being like,
You gotta
yep,
channel. You
or
gotta
here's the
channel
bad
your
guy.
inner fae on those kind of questions.
Big time. That's kind of low key. That's why I want people to do Speak with Dead. Because I want to be, every once in a while, I want to be the dickhead who's like, that counts as a question. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, yep, there's another one. What the fuck? That's 3, baby. Fuck you. Just like doing that.
I'm out.
Is so fun to me.
Just immediately.
I mean, they did it. Yeah, they did it in the
Yeah.
D&D movie, but still.
Uh-huh.
So last but
All
not
right.
least, we mentioned connecting clues.
Yes.
That it is usually sometimes it can be linear. One clue is just connecting to the next clue, so on and so forth. We're literally leaving breadcrumbs that are leading Hansel and Gretel to their place.
Mhm.
But it can also be more of a spider webby kind of thing. Clues can connect in asymmetric and interesting ways and stuff. Obviously, all of the murder mystery things that we've referenced thus far are great examples of that.
Mhm.
It's never as super direct, which is another reason I really like Knives Out, because Knives Out does something, again, a twist on the Agatha Christie model of like it pretty quickly in the beginning of the movies, like here's what went down.
Right.
And the movie's not obviously there's some twists. I don't want to get into spoilers of Knives Out. There's some twists, but kind of they tell you who dies, how they died right from the get-go.
Right.
And then it's less about like us, the audience, finding it out. Obviously, there's twists, but it's almost like we're along for the ride with what's his name?
Blanc. Benoit Blanc.
Blanc. Benoit Blanc. And we're along the ride with this beautiful Southern gentleman as he is solving the crime, and we get to kind of hover around him. And that is so fun. And we're also following the potential
And
murderer
it's
and
yeah,
how
it's
they're trying to cover their tracks and stuff and how they did it. And we're finding out. So that the way that story
deconstructing
was told was so
lies.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you come across as like, oh, well, they said XYZ happened, but then actually, if you run the tape back,
exactly. So I think like when you're making clues, you want to try and connect those clues to something real in the world, in the setting, in the campaign. You can connect it to the immediate plot, like the current mission that we're on. You could connect it to the overarching plot, like the main plot, maybe the BBEG or whatever. You can connect it to a specific player's backstory. These are just ways to make clues more interesting. So
yeah,
instead of just saying, hey, you find a clue, this person has the 2 bite marks on their neck, you think it's a vampire, that's a clue, and that's fine, and that's great. But what if, in addition to this, you also, if it was like hypothetically like part of one of your character's backstory is that their family was bitten by a vampire, then it would be like, it would heighten the stakes a little bit.
right,
It would be like, oh, fuck, it's a vampire. Now that character, that player is going, I wonder if it's the same one.
right,
And even if it's not, maybe they know them. Do
yeah.
vampires all know each other? Is that monstrous?
I think it might be. I think
It
might
might be. It
I
might be.
think
Um, you can also connect clues to
feels
the setting.
vaguely.
It is definitely. Yeah, I recognize that, and I apologize to the vampire community. So the setting, it can also connect to the setting. There's ways to
Yep.
understand the setting, the culture, its people, it's the environment, etc. The clue could be not only is it just this note, but maybe you want to get like what kind of paper is it written on?
Mm-hmm.
That could tell you so much. What kind of ink were they using? What's their handwriting like? Like it was it found in an envelope with a wax seal? So many different things that just continually flavor that clue to be more and more specific, or more and more not specific, but like it's because it's specific in different directions. It can even be more confusing in a way that you intend. Where it's like the clues are kind of pulling you in different directions where you're like, fuck, I don't know. It could mean this, but now because of this other thing, it could mean that. What does that mean?
Right.
And maybe there's a reason.
Very interesting too, especially if you're running a longer campaign, to while you're giving out clues to the monster of the week situation of the party, to just also sprinkle in some others unrelated clues that like Mousecatool, like that's a secret tool that's going to help us later. Like you find like they'll you can throw in other clues that will also mislead on the current thing, but will actually have an impact later on. Or again, just to build the world out in general, to show that it's all intertwined type of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good point because that makes me think of a lot of you mentioned like Monster of the Week. It makes me think of a lot of TV shows like that, like Supernatural. If you watch the first seasons of Supernatural, that's what it is. Each episode, for the most part, like season 1, they're hunting monsters each episode. Each episode, a different monster, aka Monster of the Week. Then there is this overarching theme. We're looking for our dad. Where is he? What about this yellow-eyed demon? Getting revenge. So there's all those overarching things. So then even when an episode is very much like we have to fight a Wendigo in Canada on a camping trip. That's very contained. That's very insular, very isolated until you find out the clues that like the dad also was going to hunt this creature.
Right.
There's some clues there. Then as soon as the episode finishes and they're like, okay, we did it. We fought the Wendigo. Another clue arises that they're like, oh, now dad is in this place. Let's go there. And it sets up the next thing. So it's just like, yeah, there's always the overarching plot and then the individual little plots, episodes versus the season.
Right.
Yeah, I always think that's really, really fun and interesting to do. it can be challenging because you kind of need to know where you're going and how much time you have to get there. Some of this clue giving can be at least a more methodical way to practice pacing. Right? Because we talked about at the top, like the length of your campaign can change how juicy each clue is. Like if you're playing for a year, you don't want to right off the bat be like, you think that this guy killed your dad. It's like, no, save that until halfway at least.
Right.
Unless it's like truly you talk to, because sometimes, maybe you talk to the player and the idea is like, no, I want to solve this huge part of my backstory very quickly because then my character's arc is going to be, now what do I do? I've done the revenge thing. Now what? Why am I an adventurer if I've finished this thing? And that's why, I don't know. I'm just thinking of interesting backstory ideas. So clues, we've talked about them.
We did it.
I think I love just the entire concept of it. To me, it's always the most sometimes challenging because you need to know your players, you need to know the party, you need to know your friends and stuff because you're gonna know, hopefully, like how good they are at clue finding, and stuff like that also, and just kind of like how their brains work a little bit. Go back to Mythos season 1. I think that is, I still think about it as some of the best clues I've ever given.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're really not.
I also think I did a decent job in Mythos season 2. I think in both of those.
Yeah.
I think in both Mythos season 1 and season 2, I did a good job of clues.
Yeah.
Because there were times in season 2 where Andy the Rat, the news thing, shows up and he very clearly will be like, and next time we're talking about these sea monsters that are coming out and they're ruining this river. And you guys are like on that river. And what happens at the end of the episode? You get attacked by river monsters. Like it just is exactly how it works. He like mentions very early on just the concept that the hag's house moves. He says that several times of like, oh, I'm checking. It is in the same place. And that was the first one, was just him going, yep, same place. That was the baby clue of just letting players know, why did he have to check? Like, why is it news that the hag's house is in the same place? That makes no fucking sense. Why did he say that? Unless it was important. And now we're starting. And then the next time it's more of a clue. So now it's like, oh, I've heard that it is on the move a little bit, but slow. And now you know straight up it moves.
It's got to move. Yeah.
I love stuff like that. Sometimes I love giving, this one's a little dastardly, and we'll end on this. Sometimes I like giving a clue for the players and not for the characters. That's a tricksy little thing, though. That's like kind of for example, when I named the part of the forest that you guys had to walk through, the H&M forest, or the forest, it was like this special, it was Merkvadir, or like Merkvud, sponsored by H&M.
Right.
Now, obviously, that joke and that clue are for the players, and that has nothing to do with the characters, really, unless the characters just of themselves are like, yeah, I know who Hugin and Munin is. I can think of an H name and an M name that are part of Norse mythology because that's the setting we're kind of in right now. That's for me saying to the players, why would I do H&M? Of all the places, why did I pick H&M?
I thought you were doing
you're thinking the clothing store.
I thought you were doing
thinking of the sweatshop.
I thought it was,
and
I thought it was just a little funny joke. You're like, haha, yeah, it's sponsored by this random ass clothing line.
Yeah, this fast fashion line. Yeah. And that was the bit, but hidden under the bit is a well-placed reference to two figures in Norse mythology, one whose name starts with an H and one who starts with an M, and usually in that order. Yeah. And that was it. Hugin and Munin, or Hugin, excuse me. Yeah. Hugin and Munin. And Odin's two ravens, thought and memory, loosely translated. There's like trillions of ways that are probably more proper, but so many fun examples. Clues are incredible. It takes practice. Don't feel bad if it's not inherent at first, or if sometimes it'll be a little too heavy-handed. And because it's the same with like plot hooks or foreshadowing, where you're like, I want to start introducing something to let the players know that in 10 sessions, there's a dragon.
Mhm.
But I don't want them to immediately go fight the dragon. I want them to fight the dragon in 10 sessions. So I can't just immediately be like, you find a dragon tooth. That's too obvious. So I need a softer clue. I need something a little bit softer or whatever that may be, right?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything right now, but that is fine because this week's episode is sponsored by Patamon. The specific Digimon named Patamon.
Sure.
Which was on this Ocean Bomb, these shitty things that are in like
honestly, it's
stores.
Patamon is one of my favorites because it's so just cute, and I love its
Blast!
I love its little wing ears. It's so awesome.
So cute.
Yeah.
I watched yesterday a clip on TikTok. It was Instagram. I haven't been on TikTok in a while actually, but that it was like the song "Waiting for a Hero." Where have all the good men gone? And where are
yeah,
that one?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any of the words. That song. And you're familiar. And it was right when the Devimon is attacked. He beats the shit out of all the other ones, and they all fall and hit the wall, and they become their smaller forms. And then the devil starts reaching towards Tai.
I don't know anything about the Digimon universe.
I think it's Tai. Or is Tai the Agumon's guy? It doesn't matter. Starts reaching towards the little kid with the hat.
Okay.
Starts reaching towards Patamon's not owner, but partner.
Right.
Reaching towards, as they are doing it, Patamon, bubble blast! A poof of air hits the hand. Nothing happens. Immediately, Patamon starts crying, and then the song picks up. It's just going, waiting for a hero, and then boom, Digivolve. And then just like all the graphics, the thing comes up, starts spinning around, then just Angemon. Such a fucking badass reveal, dude. So not only is today's episode sponsored by Patamon, but the entire Patamon line, which includes Angemon and whatever comes after that.
Sure. That's all we can get into this time. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at SYWBADM, or you can ask us a question at SYWBADM@gmail.com. If you like the episode, don't forget to give us 5 stars and a review wherever you found us, and check out the Patreon, the Twitch, and the merch with the link in the description. Join us next time for more Dungeon Master tips and tricks.
Bye! Hey gang, it's Justin. I have the honor of giving a shout out to the members of our Patreon gang. Nub Muffins, may Palor's light shine upon you. Marsavies, have you watered your flesh prison lately? Yazvi, the eternal library where color and community await you. Molly Adeza, who gets yet another level up. And there's Elijah, Tappy, and Linguini. Gang, we appreciate and love you. Tune in next time for more tips and tricks from So You Wanna Be a DM.